This is a big one, and I've asked a project executive that I respected a lot what the answer to this one is, but I'm going to ask you. When you think about the real objective of a project manager, going back to that loop, what is their actual mission, so that we can bring it home for the listeners?
Okay, so the actual mission is
Yeah.
I'd go back to the book by Patrick Lencioni, Five Dysfunctions of a Team, and a quote in there that says, if you could get all of the people in an organisation rowing in the same direction, you could dominate any industry, any market, under any conditions at any time. If you could get everyone, the PM's job is to get everyone headed in the same direction. If he could do that, you'll build any project under any circumstances, ever gets thrown at you at any time. That's my opinion. In my opinion, that is his number one job.
I love that, and kudos to you for pronouncing his name right. I always get that wrong.
I took a lot of practice to get that right, especially for an Aussie.
Yeah, because
Tay said more practice to get the intro right. Apparently, he got stuck behind there. Oh, Boney, you're just a wizard with technology, son. All right. That leads into this perfectly. First time I run a daily stand-up. You see me do ORCA now. What am I? Day 141. I use AI to do it now because it's an exceptional tool and I don't know how I live without it before. Anyway, I digress. First time I run it was one supervisor, and I've always said my best supervisors spent more time sitting outside the headmaster's office than they did in the classroom, right? A lot of them are, everyone seems to have it these days, but they've all got ADHD. They are 100 miles an hour, and focus is not their strong point. Okay? With this system, I showed him, all I had was sticky notes, a Sharpie, and a whiteboard. That's it. We laid the whiteboard out as a SCRUM board. Backlog. To do. Ready. In the pen. Mean it's stuck. Done. Move the tickets across. Ticket for each task. Each task had a definition of done on it. When it's finished. Hot dog or not a hot dog. Is it done? Is it not done? That one lad on that job, first 2 hours by Smoko. On the first day when I set the board up, we run off the board. We run the whole shut on that. It wasn't a big one. It was 25 or 30 people or whatever it was. Whole shut off that whiteboard. Sticky notes and a Sharpie. Finished it early. Safely. Most profitable job that business had ever done. Smoko says to me, Benny, I got more done this morning in 2 hours than I would normally get done in 2 to 3 days. He could see clearly, now the rain has gone. No, he could see clearly exactly what he had to do, where the priorities were, where we were stuck. It wasn't because he was working any harder. He just had extreme clarity on what needed to get done. If your site's full of effort, but the same problems keep coming up, they keep coming back, keep recurring, that's a recovery problem. Today we'll find out why. Now you might think I'm a huge proponent for meetings. I'm not. Not meetings for the sake of meetings. In fact, I'm on board with what Bo's got to say. Meeting should be a word that we lose from our vocabulary.
There's another word that a leader needs to banish from their lexicon. That is the word meeting. Meetings were great back when we used to live in a village and we had plenty of time. We could sit down, we could meet, we could break bread. It was mostly a social, ego-driven event. But in the information era, when we're processing insane amounts of data and having this expectation that everything's done instantly, there's no time to meet. You're collaborating for 3 purposes only. One is design. So one is planning and moving to the future. Who is you checking in?
Write that down. Collaborating for 3 purposes only. 1 is for planning.
And that's what we call an X gap, an execution gap, where we identify the gap between where we're going and where we are. And the third is the debrief. And the debrief is about a very specific objective and destination. An X gap is a whole basket. It's like everything that's going on. It's like a pulse check. But a debrief is like, oh, someone's feeling emotional. There's a reaction here about something very specific. Let's get together, drive it in. That only needs to be 5 minutes. So your calendar, you're either planning routine X gaps or scheduling 5 or 10 minute debriefs to unblock problems. When we work with organizations over our, what we call our 90-day accelerator.
Planning, X gaps, debriefs. That's it.
We get meetings down to 15 minutes. Some we get down to 8. And we release between 60 and 75% of the calendar back to everybody because the collaboration is so much more intentional and directive. There's another word that
They release 75%, 60 to 75% of people's calendar back to them because it is so intentional what they're doing. In fact, this board right here, I'll show you right now. You do not need Claude, you do not need ChatGPT, although I can recommend both of them. This board right here, I've built this on the back of what I learned from a neuroscientist, a former Google and Apple exec, the COO of 1-800-GOT-JUNK, booze, stuff you've just been seeing right there. Silicon Valley, Ching Yang, hot dog, not hot dog. This is the board. This is all that you need. Whiteboard like this. You don't even have to use the sticky notes that I used to do. But today's date up the top. What's the objective for the day, for the mission, for the shift? Top 3. Results. What results do we get if we're done one already? Okay, what results did we get yesterday? What caused those results? What actions do we need to put in place? Notice how I keep everything to 3. That's so that people don't go off on tangents, writing hundreds of different priorities and losing focus. We need less to focus on, not more. Don't give ourselves 100 things to do. Let's find the really important things and get those knocked off. Every site, construction site on Australia, every construction site everywhere was knocking off 3 top priorities every single day. They'll be having a good week. There's a few rules of engagement for it. L is on time is late. That's from the legendary Vince Lombardi. It's a nameless and rankless session, like the fighter pilots talk about and Boo talks about in the Afterburner Advantage. We use radical candor to drive that nameless and rankless. Kim Scott, it's a lady that you need to follow in that space. If it doesn't add situational awareness, don't say it. That's how Boo gets the time in his meetings down to 15 and 8 minutes. I intend to, David Marquet, that was how he turned the ship around the Santa Fe inside, it was like 180 days. Giving people the ability to make decisions and move on with their job. And the neuroscientist taught me it all was PAX. We will do ORCA for 10 days. We just create this as a little experiment to start off with so that we're not trying to tie people in. There's also what a poker player taught me, and that's into probability. I've done previous videos on it. If you're not convinced by now, this is, people say they don't have time to debrief. The reason that you don't have time to debrief is because you don't debrief. 15 minutes a day, that will 10x, give you a 10x return on your time for the week. So 10 times 15, work out whatever that is, you'll get 10 to 20 hours back per week if you do this well, if you do it properly. Actually remove the roadblocks that's slowing you down. All right, enough. Should have convinced you by now that you need to do an ORCA. Have you run an ORCA with your team yet? Hot dog or not a hot dog? In the comments. Let's run one right now. Projects. Ready to begin. As I say, So, Beanie, we can't use the phone on our site. We don't understand. We haven't got this. We're not allowed to use AI. That's what I started with. Sticky notes, Sharpie, and a wall. Don't even need a whiteboard. And a wall to pin them on. Welcome back. April 13, 1% of your day. Audience, live debrief, real work, real results. Let's go. Step 1 is the objective. We're locking in exactly what we set out to do today. Beanie, what was the objective today? The objective today was to go back and retest the ORCA tool that I created that didn't work when we tried to use it live yesterday, rewrite the code and test it out. I didn't rewrite the code. Claude rewrote the code. I have trouble spelling code, much less writing it. Good. Objective. Fix the voice input issue in the ORCA tool. Rewrite the code and test it today. Did it happen? Yes, I did. What was the result? Result was that we got the issue fixed. It's now working. Clear objective hit. Tool fixed. Voice input. Is there a gap anywhere or are we debriefing a win? We are debriefing a win, and the other win was that during the process, I actually got Claude hooked up to GitHub so that any future updates that I want, before I used to have to go to Claude, get Claude to write a code, take it across, put it inside GitHub, test it, back forward, copy paste. Now I can just do the work with Claude inside, what's the name of the platform? Visual Studio Code. And I tell him to do an update and he does an update and it's done. I did the same with Google Docs yesterday as well. It actually tried to talk me out of doing it, but I've now hooked it up so that when it creates my daily banger, the post that I put up on LinkedIn, heads off, throws it into Google Docs for me. So I've got it all sitting there and I can review that at the end of the week. Yeah, don't tell me that we lost that. No. That's a big win. 3 things landed today. Tool fix, GitHub connected to VS Code, so updates are 1 step instead of 10. Claude piping LinkedIn posts straight into Google Docs for your end of week review. What made today work so well? 4 words that I learned from Paul Akers and Ryan Tierney. Stop and fix it. Say more. Who are Paul and Ron? Paul Akers runs a company called FastCap. He invented a process called 2-second lean. Ryan Tierney owns a company called Seeding Matters, and he is currently doing another lean turnaround. He's written a book called Lean Made Simple, and he has a podcast called Lean Made Simple, and a YouTube channel called Lean Made Simple. He's currently doing a turnaround with a company called SCRUM Metals. That is one of the key fundamentals of lean, and how Paul Akers created 2-second lean, because normal lean was failing for him, was he got people to make a 2-second improvement every day. So when something, he said, when it bugged them, stop and fix it. Why is this doing this? There's your root cause of the win. Cause. Apply 2-second lean principle. When something isn't working, stop and fix it instead of working around it. That's what drove the tool fix, the GitHub integration, and the Google Docs automation, all in one session. That sits under culture and leadership, specifically the standard of not accepting broken systems. One action. How do you embed stop and fix it as a daily standard, not just a one-off? Ooh. That's a good question. What do you suggest? Do we track it in our daily ORCA? Or is that getting outside the bounds of what a daily ORCA is? Keep it inside ORCA. Don't add new system. Here's how. When you run your daily flex on Sunday, add one question to the planning. What's one broken thing I'm working on fixing right now? That becomes the stop and fix target for the week. One question already inside the system you've built. No extra processes. Does that work, or do you want somewhere else? That works. We can add it to the O&I meeting, actually, the observation and intelligence. We'll add a section for what did we fix this week. See how shitty the transcription is sometimes, and you'll still pick up what I'm putting down. Perfect. O&I meeting gets a standing agenda item. What do we need to stop and fix this week? One question every week. Already inside the meeting that exists. Who adds the O&I agenda by when? I'll need to do a session with my executive assistant, my Claude executive assistant. Tell them to go and update the MD file to add that section into every Sunday post in the operations and intelligence brief. I'll do that straight after this, and then today's task is done. Beanie opens Claude immediately after this session, updates MD file to add what do we need to stop and fix this week as a standing item in the Sunday O&I meeting. That's the action. 15 days, 15 debriefs. 2 weeks and 1 day are 1% daily improvements. Today was compound day. Tool fix, GitHub connected, Google Docs automated, 2-second lean embedded into the weekly standard. All because you stopped and fixed it instead of working around it. Paul Akers and Ryan Tierney would approve. Okay, can I ask you a question? Compound that out, forecast that out. What's the saving there, given that I had to go backwards and forwards every time, go back looking for posts all the time, whereas now I can just go straight to Google Docs and find exactly where the post is, not look through my chat history with Claude, my agent or my GPT. And the fact that I can just do updates immediately, let's assume that I do 3 updates a week. How much time is that going to save me for the rest of 2026? Can you do some sort of reference class forecasting on that and give me a forecast for how much that's actually saved me stopping and fixing those things? This is the power of AI to do this sort of stuff for you really, really quickly. Let's run the numbers. Time saved, Google Docs automation. Old process, right, Claude, hunt through the chat history to find estimate 5 minutes per post. New process, Claude writes it, drops it straight to Google Docs, open one place, it's there, estimate 30 seconds. That's a saving of 4.5 minutes a post. 7 posts linked in daily, saving 31.5 minutes per week. Remaining time in 2026. 20 hours saved. Time saved, GitHub versus VS Code integration. Old process, write code with Claude, go to GitHub, paste, commit, test, go back. New process, Claude publishes directly in 1 to 2 minutes, saving per update 8 minutes. Updates 3 per week, saving 24, 15 hours. It's a combined total of 31 hours saved between now and Christmas. But here's the real number. 35 hours is almost an entire working week. Back on your hands to do the actual work, not the admin work around the work. That's what stopping and fixing is worth. 1 session, 1 day, 1 week of your life returned. Paul Akers was right. that's conservative. That's probably closer to 3 or 4 weeks. The time that used to take me going backwards and forwards in GitHub and trying to find where things were, and absolute nightmare. Anyway, take it, use it, make it a great week. If you want a copy, you probably hear me dog there, quiet car, of, not that, a whiteboard, so you can set up like that. Just reach out and say whiteboard image. I'll send you that image so you can just copy that straight onto your whiteboard. Be set up, ready to go tomorrow. Take it, use it, make it a great week. I'll speak soon. There's a term in Australia called take the piss, right? Which is making fun of someone doing something. That used to happen all the time with me. What's he walking around the paddock for? What's he looking for? What's he doing?
Yeah.
Because they don't understand flow.
And you were boots on the ground, and you're walking the field, and you're talking to the project delivery team. By the way, I've changed that for everything. I always say project delivery team now. Yeah. What is the first sign that the team's not ready to start and that this is heading in the wrong direction?
I'm always looking for flow. Now, these guys, back on this project, they used to think I was mad. I'd walk the paddock. I did this for months on end too, right? This is you got to keep repeating things, and you got to keep doing things until people internalize them and they accept them themselves. I used to walk the job 10 to a dozen times a day. Okay. The main thing I was looking for is where's it stopped? Where the crane's not moving, where's there groups of people stood up waiting for materials? Because when I knew where it was stopped, then I knew where the problems were. I could go and speak to them and say, hey guys, you don't go and accuse people, right? How's it going? What's happening? Go and talk to the people in the paddock doing the work. They'll tell you what the problem is. We all like to sit in the office and in meetings and stuff like that because it's air conditioned or, we're out of the elements. Get out there at the work front where they're actually doing the work and ask them what's going on. They'll tell you. They love to tell you what's not working. And that was all I did, man. But I did it for months.
You did it, which allowed you to just get rid of your opinions and just like analyze what was going on. You
don't want to start 2026 like this. I'm starting a new pilot program called 2026 Preseason Training. It's for leaders who want to get their team match fit before the whistle blows and the 2026 season kicks off. So if you're running a good company or a team and you want to hit 2026 in a sprint, this is your window right now to set it up. We'll custom build your 12-month plan and drop it into a Trello board so that you actually track it and use it. We'll resource it properly so the work actually gets done and set you up a school community so that you're ready to get rhythm from day one. We'll be setting it all up using Goldrat's project rules of flow to mitigate the 12 causes of project failure, because that's exactly what this is and how you need to treat it as a project. And you'll also be learning to leverage AI where it counts to get the most impact. This isn't some paint by numbers cookie cutter course. It's pre-season training custom built for your business. There's only 10 spots and we'll have it wrapped up so that you're ready to run before we hit Christmas. DM me the words 2026 pre-season training and I'll send you all the details, because you really don't want to start 2026 like this.